right, everybody, Monday. Yes, first announcement. I just sent out the new issue of MMT Trader. So if you're on the email list, make sure you got that, or go to my website, pitbulleconomics.com, sign in and get the report. A lot of stuff in that report today. If you are not on the email list and if you would like to see it, sign up for a 30-day free trial. Go to my website, pitbulleconomics.com, sign up for a 30-day free trial. By the way, I mentioned this last week that the subscription rate will be going up as of March 1st to $250 a month. It is currently $195. So lock in that price before it goes up. All right, let's talk. I want to talk a little bit about, and I mentioned this several weeks ago, I am very gratified to see the emergence of MMT in conversations, in columns, on blogs, on television, in discussions, really erupting into the mainstream right now. It's a very gratifying thing for me to see. I have been involved personally with MMT and spreading the concepts of MMT for 18 years, since 2001. And really nobody knew about it for a very, very long time, but now, and I consider myself to be part of what eventually brought it to the mainstream. Maybe a small part, maybe not such a small part, but I have been involved for a long time in putting out the concepts and educating people. And of course, my own report is called MMT Trader, where I fuse the concepts of MMT, the economic concepts of MMT, with my background as a trader. So I'm happy to see that. The discussion now is really out there all over. I mean, you really can see it in many, many different places. And it's a great discussion. And one of the things that I love seeing now is this line that we have heard for so long: how are you going to pay for it? Whenever there's a proposal, a policy proposal, for example, like Medicare for all, or a national infrastructure program, or something of that nature, there's always the how are you going to pay for it. But it's funny because nobody asked that question about the trillions of dollars we spend on military and war. There's always money for that, right? Last year you had a $700 billion budget for the Defense Department. That was just done by decree. Congress decided on that, it was authorized, and the money is there. Boom. There's never the question of how you're going to pay for it. It's always for programs that are non-military. And finally, it is very, very satisfying to see that question justly derided, as it should be, because there is no financial constraint for a country that issues its own currency. The only constraint or constraints are real constraints, and by that I mean resources, human capital, labor, brain power, innovation. Those are the only real constraints. There are no financial constraints for a country that issues its own currency, that spends in its own currency. So this question, how are you going to pay for it, which is a ridiculous question, is finally getting the just mockery that it deserves, because it is an illegitimate question. It is an inapplicable question. There is no financial constraint. There are only real constraints. And when it comes to that, if you look out there, not just at this country, but the world, we are underutilizing our real constraints. There is excess capacity everywhere. There is excess labor capacity everywhere. Resources, brain power not being brought into use. So essentially, we could have far higher levels of financial investment before we reach the limits of our real constraints. So when you say something like you can't afford Medicare for all, or you can't do a national infrastructure program, or you can't do basic science and research, or you can't do free education, that is nonsense. We are underutilizing our real capacity and our real resources. If you were a CEO of a company and you were running that company at 50, 60, or 70% of its capacity or of its capability, you would be fired as that CEO. But yet it's okay for us to say, hey, let's run the country at 50, 60, 70% of its capacity, and that's all we can do? No, that's not all we can do. We can do much more than that. Much more than that. So anyway, this is all being brought out into light now. And I'm very happy to see this, because it it finally, taking a stupid question, how are we going to pay for it, and correctly mocking that and pillorying that, because that's what it deserves. It's a ridiculous question. All right. As far as the markets are concerned, a number of things. Now, there's something that I look at that nobody else looks at. And again, my report is unique in the sense that it is an applied MMT approach. You take the concepts of MMT, which of course MMT correctly describes the monetary system and how it operates, all right? And combining that with two things. Number one, trading experience, and number two, mental game, behavior. And that goes both ways. That means behavior on our part as traders and investors, how to behave, how to have an emotional capability or an emotional framework that allows you to succeed. All right? That entails having control of your emotions, being rational in your thought, and understanding how the other side behaves. And that's, the 99.999%. Those are the zombies. Those are the ones who are not educated. They're not informed. They react emotionally. They react reflexively. And they run on a false understanding or a flawed understanding of how the monetary system functions. You can take their money. I mean, I went over the example of Bill Gross in a prior video that I did last week or the week before. The bond king, who fundamentally did not understand the bond market or the monetary system. His infamous tweet in 2011, who's going to buy them now? As the Fed was pulling back from one of its QE programs. Didn't understand who's going to buy the bonds. Didn't understand that the dollars to buy bonds come from government spending itself, and the sale of treasuries, the sale of bonds, is nothing more than a reserve drain. And you can't drain something until you fill it up first. You cannot drain a swimming pool until you fill it up with water first. Didn't understand that. I look at something, well, a number of things, but one of the things that has recently caught my attention is the fluctuation in reserve balances in the banking system. It's very, very important to understand the impact of this, because you're talking about tens of billions, sometimes hundreds of billions in very short periods of time that flow onto bank balance sheets or off of bank balance sheets, affecting what banks must do with respect to their assets, their investments, maintaining proper capital levels. Now, these things form patterns that are extremely tradable in the short term. I mean, this is like having inside information. It's totally legal. When I was a floor trader, we used to try our hardest to find out what the big traders off the floor, through their brokers in the pits, where the orders were, where the order flow was coming from, because you can make money off of that. Well, this is the same exact thing, only it's all public information, but you have to have the knowledge, you have to have the understanding of how to take advantage of that. And I do that, and I give that information to my subscribers. This is very, very important. This is like having inside information. It's as if you have sort of an inside line into some big, gigantic trader who is about to do something in the market, and you jump ahead. You jump ahead because you know what is going to happen. This is a lock. This is a lock. This is stuff very tradable, these patterns. So I have that. Now, if you want that information, again, you got to sign up for my report, get a 30-day free trial, go to pitbulleconomics.com. But there has been, I shouldn't say there has, it's ongoing at all times, these patterns. There's recently been a little bit of a change in one of these patterns, which has been in place now for about the last month and a half, 2 months. So it is having an impact on the market. I talk about that in this issue, and I will continue to focus on that. And I'm even considering now maybe doing a special report just using these flows for short-term trading ideas. So keep following what I'm doing. I'm very happy to see MMT out there in the open. Very happy to see that stupid line, or to hear that stupid line, how are we going to pay for it, get mocked as it correctly should be, because that is a ridiculous, ignorant, uninformed question that should have happened a long time ago. And I was mocking that a long time ago, before MMT became popular. So anyway, go to my website, pitbulleconomics.com, sign up for a 30-day free trial. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.